Hello and welcome to another video brought to you by AllFreeJewelryMaking.com and KeepsakeCrafts.net. Today we're going to be making this pretty sparkly heart and crystal themed charm bracelet. So the first thing you will need to do in order to make your charm bracelet is to choose your charms. And to keep the design cohesive, I've decided to limit my charms to heart shapes and crystals. You'll also need some chain, and I'd like to buy it in a package like this so I can just cut off a piece that I want. Some jump rings. This time around I'm going to use a toggle clasp. You'll also need basic jewelry making tools like chain nose pliers. So now you can see I've taken the time to do some laying out. The first thing I did was cut a 7-inch piece of chain, and then I started laying out my crystals. I'm going to put this heavy 18mm heart by the clasp, which will hopefully weight it so that the bracelet won't always be clasped side up on my wrist. And then I just spaced out some of these little silver heart charms and the crystal hearts. I've decided not to use these or these. I'll save them for another project. And I wanted to fill it in a little bit more, so I found these crystals. These are really pretty. From vintage jewelry that I found just out and about, yard sales. I forget where these came from. So these hearts, let's see if you can see, they actually have a hole drilled at the top. So these are going to be attached with jump rings. But these ones are just regular beads. And the holes in some of these beads are a little big, so I'm going to start with a clear seed bead on my head pin. That will keep me from losing these. And we'll just make bead dangles out of those. And the way you do that is you start with a pair of chain nose pliers right at the top of the bead and bend your head pin at a 90-degree angle, just like that. Then you need a pair of round nose pliers and grab right at that bend over, and I'm actually going to wrap this so that I don't lose my charm, so I'm not going to finish that wrap. I'm just going to start it like that, and I'm going to do that for all 4 of these. Alright, so you can see I've done a little bit more laying out. I've started the wire wraps on these crystal dangles. The first thing that I'm going to do actually is attach this large 18mm heart. Now this heart is so big that you can see how thick it is where the hole goes through, that you would have to have a ridiculous size jump ring. So I'm not going to bother with the jump ring. Instead I'm going to use a piece of 22 gauge wire. This is about 3 inches long. So I'm going to put it through, leave one end about 1 inch long. And 22 gauge I can actually manipulate a good part of the beginning of the wrap with my fingers, just like that, so that the wires are coming straight up along the heart. And I'm going to trim that shorter one down to about 1/4 of an inch from that spot. And then use round nose pliers to start a loop. Now I gotta trim that a little bit more. That's too long. There we go. And let's straighten that out and try again. Okay. So I'm going to start a loop. And then I'm going to put it on my bracelet towards one end. I think I'll put it on this second link. Sometimes you gotta open that up a little when you make your loop. Leave it open. Okay? And then I'm just going to hold on to that and wrap this remaining end of wire down so it wraps around both wires that were coming out of the top of the heart. And be careful, these are crystals, so you can crack them if you're too rough. And I'm just using my chain nose pliers to wrap that end around. And once it's all wrapped, I'll just tuck it in. And now that's on there. I took a little time and counted the links and figured out how often that I have these, and I want to have one pretty much every link with occasional skipping. I think there's 18 charms here and there's 23 links that I'm going to be using. So I'll just go ahead and start. These are 6mm jump rings, and these are just right for these 10mm hearts. You have to open it fairly wide. Pop it on there. I'm going to skip a couple to start. Use your chain nose pliers to open your jump ring and close it. Make sure that the jump rings are nice and secure, closed well. And then we'll just keep going. Add the metal charms the same way. And then these are wrapped the same way that I wrapped this heart. Pop it on, hold on to it with chain nose pliers, and wrap that around. So I'll be back once I have all of my charms attached. So here you can see I've gone ahead and added all of my charms to my bracelet chain. One thing to keep in mind when you're using these crystals is that the retail on them is about $1 a piece for the little ones. So when you're adding your jump rings, make sure that you open and close them properly, twisting them open rather than pulling them open so that you don't weaken the metal, and that you make sure that they're closed securely and tightly so that you don't lose your nice little charms. So here we are. Just have to add the clasp. Now when you're using a toggle clasp, you want to always make sure that the end with the bar has a little extra chain, because you need that in order to bend it over. If you have a big bulky bead in the way, you won't be able to bend it over and pop it through your the round part of your toggle. So I'm just going to go ahead and add these with jump rings, and I'll show you one more time how to properly open a jump ring. Put the split at 12 o'clock. Grab one side with a pair of chain nose pliers and the other side with another pair, and push one pair away from you and pull the other towards you so that they're twisted open. And then we'll just pop these on. Just leave one pair of chain nose pliers on the jump ring, that way you don't have to reposition. Put on your chain and half of your clasp, and then you can just close it up, making sure that the ends are nice and tight so you're not going to lose anything. And one thing I tried to do, I think I succeeded when I was adding these, is I added all the charms to the same, the bottom link of the bracelet, so as it hangs, they all hang down. I just thought it would look a little nicer as you're wearing it. You saw me there open that with just one pair of chain nose pliers. Sometimes the bigger jump rings you can do that, but I do like to close them with pliers so that I put a little bit of pressure towards the center as you bend it so that you know those ends are meeting. And then to close it up, you just pop it through the heart, and here you have it. Isn't that sweet? Kind of a fun, pretty, girly bracelet. I hope you've enjoyed this project, and take some time and collect some lovely beads and make yourself or somebody else something special. Thanks for watching. For more crafting and jewelry ideas and inspiration, please be sure to check out keepsakecrafts.net.